Power of Now. My name is Rich Bruckner, and today we have a very special guest. He's a guy that's been rapping since he was 12 years old. He's making content on social media right now, doing really interesting content. So go over and make sure you check him out on Instagram. I'm going to put the link in the description. But without further ado, I want to introduce Mem-G.
Mem-G. I like how you said Mem-G. I like that. I like that. I use it in my government.
Right.
A little respect around here.
That's right. So thanks for doing this, bro.
Appreciate you, bro.
You were one of the people that as soon as I started making content, we started talking about it right away because, you know, you're kind of doing something kind of similar on your page as well. And what made you take the leap into, because I always knew you were making music, but what caused you to take the leap into producing content on Instagram?
To be honest, bro, it was mostly just because I knew that was the way that I was going to get the music out. Like those Mindset Mondays that you saw, it's not really because, I mean, I like talking, I could curse in this?
Yeah.
It's you know, I like talking my shit, like in person, like how we, you know, chop it up or whatever. But really what it is like, I knew that if I could do something where I could show people my personality, and like that would be one of the ways to do it, because, you know, I have some insight on a couple things. And I knew that was going to push a little further than the music for the moment. So, you know, that's why I started doing content and even the whole music thing, bro. Doing this since 12, but the reason I even got, you know, had the balls to do it is because Nova. You know what I mean? Nova was the one that pushed me to do it. Like, bro, I was making songs since I was 12, and I kept them shits in my computer for like, you know, for a long time, bro. You know what I'm saying?
It's weird how life will give you perspective on shit, and it'll change your perspective on shit.
Right.
So was there a moment in your life that you were like, yo, I'm going to just give this music thing 100%?
You know, it kind of ties in with the whole entrepreneurial shit, where with the whole entrepreneurial tip, I want to make sure we can run some ads on this.
Yeah.
With the whole entrepreneurial thing is that there was a time when I was at work and I ended up going to the doctor for something. I wanted to like leave my job and, you know, do the whole TLC thing. You remember when everybody was doing Uber?
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that, and, you know, I had to get some blood work done. So I got some blood work done. My liver enzymes were through the roof, and they ended up finding something here in my liver.
Right.
You know, obviously I'm still here 7 years later, so it's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But it's when I realized, like, what am I doing working at this place that I don't like, knowing that, and at that moment, I didn't know if it was something, you know, that was going to take me out, or something that was, you know, I was going to be able to be cool with. So, you know, at that moment, I was like, I gotta get out of here. So, you know, I ended up leaving my job, and at the same time, starting a business, and I went back to the studio. I started going back to the studio. I started really like moving in with the music. But what was the question again?
It was basically, was there a moment in your life that shifted your perspective to take the music more seriously?
It was the fact that I was, you know, it was the fact that I was coming of age, bro.
Right.
Like, it's the fact that I'm getting older. Like, you know, like I hit 28, 29. You know, that's when I became single at that time from a 7-year relationship. And I you know, and then Nova too, he had to do with it. And what shifted my perspective was just the fact that I don't want to die not doing the things that I love doing. You know?
Yeah, bro. I mean, listen, that's the whole reason why this podcast started.
I know,
you know,
told me,
and it literally has everything to do with. There's a lot of people out there that feel that same way, and maybe it's because we're hitting that age, like 29, 30. When I hit 30 is when I started thinking more about like what's really important in life.
For sure.
I started thinking about my health. I started thinking about wanting to be in shape because, bro, I got so fucking out of shape when I was between 28 and 29, bro.
Oh, I didn't see you at that time. But I know when we were younger, you were a little, you're a little chubby.
Yeah, but bro, like I've always struggled with that back and forth. And when I hit like 18, I got in really good shape, and I kind of stayed that way for a few years.
Man.
But bro, like then I got older, and when I hit 29, I was coming up on my 30th birthday, bro. It was so bad that I remember like I would get out of breath just from like walking to my car, and like I'd like get to work, and from walking from my car to the office, I'd be winded, and I started thinking about, bro, my parents were in better shape than I was, and they were like 60. And I'm like, my mom's traveling around the world. She's able to walk and get around and shit. And I'm like, yo, I work really hard. I make all this money. And if I go travel somewhere right now, I can't even fucking walk a mile to go do a tour of some shit. Yeah. If I go to a museum, I'm going to have a hard time walking up the steps. Yeah. And I didn't want to live that way. And I didn't want to, especially hit like 60 years old. I couldn't imagine how low my quality of life would be if I just let things go there. Yeah. So I literally, bro, like COVID hit, and I started like picking up like, it wasn't a kettlebell, it was it's something similar. It's like it looks like a club.
Okay.
And but
it is a club?
It's a club, and it's weighted.
And you do this type shit?
Yeah, you do some crazy shit with it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And because I couldn't go to the gym, I got one of those, and I was just in my backyard swinging that around. I started
like you're hitting something, right? Like it takes natural movement, and then you work out with it. Is that what you're talking about?
The idea is it's supposed to give you functional strength.
Oh, okay.
So I was doing that, and I started walking, then I started going for jogs, and then I hit a certain point on my own where I was like at a plateau, and then I started going to a personal trainer because I said I could either keep money and let my health decline, or I could spend a little bit of money and have a professional help me get in shape. And bro, they've done amazing things for me, and I fucking
So you got a personal trainer?
Yeah, it's One Body One Life, OBOL. They're in Oakdale. And they changed my life. I've been going there since 2021 now. I've been going there for like 2.5 years probably. And I still go because I'm still learning new shit there almost every week they teach me some new shit that I never knew before. And having the accountability and showing up, it makes a huge difference. And having somebody push you, because there's days that you don't want to fucking put in 100%.
That's when it counts though.
Yeah.
That's when it counts though, you know? That's when it counts when you don't want to put that. Because that's the difference between what you're doing and how this is going to become a success compared to somebody who's just making a podcast when they just want to talk to their buddies. Like, you're doing this diligently. Like, I see you putting out, bro, I make content. I know it's not easy to make content.
It ain't.
You make content, and then you have to chop it up. You have to make sure everything is good. Now you got the lighting and everything. Like, this is like... It's for you to be diligent. I see you every single day on my Instagram, bro. Like without miss. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know to a certain point, like you probably have like a little pressure at like to keep consistency because you're you're putting out so much shit.
It's like having a full-time job because like the thing is, bro, if I'm gonna do anything, I'm gonna do it 100%, or I'm just not gonna fucking do it. I've always been an all or nothing kind of guy, and that's why when I don't watch what I eat, I fucking, you all in. Yo, I put on weight quick, bro. Because like my trainer made a comment one time because for like 2 or 3 weeks, I was just going off the deep end, and he was like, "Damn, bro." He's like, "What do you eat that you fucking just put on weight like that, bro?" And I'm like, "I eat everything, bro. I don't stop." Yeah, you know. But it's like everything that I do, it's either all or nothing. I'm either like eating super fucking healthy, like when I'm fucking on point. Yeah. I'm eating like some shit that it's literally like I
saw some of the stuff you were eating, like the beets and all of that.
Yeah, like I'm drinking beet juice. Like that shit sucks. But I have to do it because if I'm gonna do it, I want to give it everything I have.
Nah, for sure.
You know, and it's the same thing with this shit. Like when I started making content, I'm like, I'm not just gonna half-ass it. I'm not gonna stop doing it. Yeah. I'm gonna put everything I have into it, and I'm always looking for ways to improve. Mr. Beast said that you're never going to make perfect content. There's no such thing as a perfect video. Right. So there's always something you can improve on it. So if you look at something you made 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago, 3 years ago, you'll find shit that you could have improved on and made better.
For sure.
And so, you know, there's never going to be a video you look at and say, there's nothing I could have done better with that. Mm-hmm. You know?
It ties into like music too, because like if I make a song right now and I listen to the track, a couple months later, I'll always find something like I should have said this way, or I should have done this, or I should have said this instead. You know what I mean? But like, you know, it ties in like this in itself is an art form too, you know.
Right.
So you look
and the thing is, like, so music for me, I know when it comes to being creative and writing anything, it doesn't matter if you're writing poetry, lyrics, fiction. My thing with being creative is there's always pain behind it. When I'm not saying I can't be creative if I'm not going through some shit, but I feel like my best work comes from pain. Have you like what's something you could think of that was like a painful moment that something beautiful came out of it, in terms of it could be like your content on Instagram or your music or anything like that?
Like a painful moment and where something beautiful came from it?
Right, yeah, like something that you grew through and it pushed you to almost work harder.
Man, I would say, I mean, there's increments, you know, in time in everyone's life where things like that happen. A significant one for me, I would have to say is, you know, it's so crazy, bro. Like I'm like a person, bro. Like I really, not that I don't remember the past, but I'm so focused on like moving ahead that there's certain things that like I'm just like, I knew I grew from shit, and you know I just leave it as is, you know, and just keep pushing. But I know there's something truthful about, you got to know where you've been at, right?
Right.
To not be back over there.
That's right.
So I just gotta, you know, I gotta work on my memory.
Yeah.
That's what I gotta take more ginkgo.
Well, yeah, I mean, some people everybody has a different process with going through shit.
Yeah. Or maybe it could be disassociation.
Yeah.
Like because I noticed that when I'm going through something, like I've withdrawn of emotion. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you know, that could be some childhood shit. I don't know. I don't want to get too crazy, but you know, man, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what's something that I've been through that I really grew out of? Like, I guess like the typical, bro. Like, I used to be anxious. Like, I still even doing this, I still felt anxiety. Yeah. But I just understood that, you know, you know, I'm about to say something like bigger than music, bigger than, you know, anything. It's really about like what has made me, I guess, like just, you know, going through times where I was like anxious and anxiety and, you know, thinking about what people thought about me and being self-critical, hard on yourself, right? I think I just realized that we all go through that. Mm. We all go through that. We all go through that anxiety, but it's just something that we don't have to let control us. Like, right. You feel that and you embrace that feeling, and then you just eventually, you know, that feeling goes away. Like, you don't feel, you know, happy all the time. I think that's one of the biggest realizations that I've had. Like, that pain of anxiety, that pain of just going through shit, and then just eventually just understanding that that's not what makes me, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And it led me to do music. It led me to do a lot of things. Like, even like when I used to like be afraid of, like, I don't want to say afraid, but like, you know, everybody gets a little anxious, like talking to a girl, like, you know, yeah, and that's normal. You know, approaching women and all of that. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, when I was single, I'm not single anymore, but when I was single, you know, even that, bro, like, I those rejections were painful. Like, not saying I was going to every fucking girl. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I was going to every girl in the world, but yeah. You know, but if I saw something I liked, I went after it. And, right. and sometimes when, you know, you do that, you go through those painful rejections, you know, the anxiety. I just learned that anxiety is not, you can't let it control you. You got to do it despite that, and just know that that feeling doesn't last forever.
Right. And the more you experience those feelings, so like when I got sober,
you spoke about that already in this podcast?
Yeah, I've spoken about it on and off. Like, I don't bring it up every time, but
no, of course, yeah. But I just didn't know if that was something that you had already spoken about. When I say spoken about, I mean like even like how you just brought that up just now. How, yeah. Like, when you said the word sober. Yeah. So I didn't even know if that was something that you even exposed. Like,
people probably know if they're watching. I mean, and if they didn't, now they do.
But you're a hell of a person. Like, let me say something, bro. I don't want to interrupt you, but yeah. I just want to say this. Like, I don't know Rich like that.
Yeah.
But I know the people that used to hang around. Like, and I know we grew up with these people. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
But to see where you came from, bro, to what you're doing, like, that's insane.
Right.
Like,
I appreciate
really,
that.
no, and this is honest to God. That's how I feel, bro. Like, you know, like the consistency. Like, it's crazy what you like, what you've let like manifest. But I guess that mentality of like, you probably have like an addictive personality. Like,
I do, yeah, 100%.
But I feel like the people with the most, like with the addictive personalities, are the people that are fucking animals.
Right.
Like when it comes to whatever it is that they want to do, like
if you could channel it into
that's the word, man.
Something positive, then yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Like with the people that I surrounded myself with, I would have been the way I was regardless if I was around those people or not. But when I got sober the first time, I kept going back to those places and hanging out in those places and doing those things. And I found that I couldn't stay sober, still being around those same people and doing the same things that we were doing after a few times of trying and not succeeding. So when I stayed sober long enough, I had a lot of those feelings of anxiety and depression. And I struggled with all that shit. And my sponsor at the time, I called him one day and I was like angry about something, and I was like telling him I was telling him this whole fucking rant that I was on, and he was like, "So what's the feeling that you're going through right now?" And I was like, "Anger," because a lot of it's about identifying feelings. I was like, "I'm feeling angry," and he's like, "All right, well, you know it's okay to feel angry, right?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "It's fine. Like, let yourself feel angry. You know, it's gonna go away. Nothing lasts forever. You're never gonna be, happy all the time.
Sure.
Good times don't last. Bad times don't last.
Sure.
So just when you're having a bad time, remember that. When you're having a good time, make sure you remember that shit too.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
And so
that's a fact.
So like,
That's a fact.
yeah, like that journey taught me a lot of that, because when I was getting high constantly, I really didn't feel a lot of feelings. And if I did, I just did more drugs to drown it out.
Really?
Yeah, bro. So like it was a lot of like, if I felt uncomfortable, I would get high. If I felt sad, I would get high. If I felt rejection, I would get anything that was negative that I didn't want to feel, I would get high. And so it was just a way of blocking out things that I didn't want to deal with.
Yeah.
But people do that not just with drugs, they do it with other shit too. They do it with shopping, gambling, sex.
Pornography.
Yeah, porn, all that shit. It's just a way to escape discomfort that you're feeling in your life.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So when you got sober, then obviously, you felt these emotions before, but when you got sober, do you feel like it was like overwhelming, the amount of emotion that you started feeling?
Yeah, and I wouldn't have been able to go through it if I didn't have people around me that had already been through what I've been through. And so that's where I learned a lot about business too.
That's not easy stuff, man.
I learned a lot about business and about this shit, because when you get sober, they tell you to like find somebody that has what you want. And then do what they did to get it. And like when you're in these meetings, you can go talk to somebody who's got 40 years sober and be like, "Hey bro, like I have 1 day sober and I want to have 40 years. Like, what did you do?" And they'll just tell you. And when you're around people like that enough, then it starts to relate to other shit. Like with business, when I started in sales, I looked at the dude that was making the most sales, and I fucking sat right next to him and I was like, "Bro, like, let's go get lunch and let me just sit next to you while you're pitching, so I could listen to what you're saying and what you're doing. I could watch your work ethic, and everything that he did, I would try to fucking mimic it." Yeah. So, and then when I started like getting on Instagram, I would look at people that I knew from college that had a shitload of followers, and I'd DM and be like, "Yo, like, how the fuck did you get those followers? How did you become successful on Instagram?" And just talk to people that have what I wanted and ask them to help me. And most people are willing to help you if you ask.
And people don't think that, like, you know there was a time, like, I guess maybe now because it's a little bit more open, so like, there's more like availability to money, and people are more transparent, so you realize that rich people aren't all like devil worshippers, right? Right? Like,
some of them might be, bro. I don't know, bro. I see some shit that makes me wonder.
Nah, that's a fact. That whole Hollywood scene.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say with that is, like, people are willing to help. Like, not all, like, people think people that have money are like the cause of all their problems. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's really like, if someone has money, I've seen it with someone who has money, they are willing to help. If you have an idea, if you have value, ain't nobody gonna come.
Or even if you just ask. The thing is, most people are just too afraid to ask. And just because one person's an asshole doesn't mean that the next person's gonna be. So it's like, how bad do you want it? Are you willing to ask 10 different people to help you to get one person to say yes? Or are you going to give up after 2 or 3 people tell you no?
Yeah, and you was a sales dude, so you know about that. Like, you
Bro, you got to make 300 calls a day to get one sale in my industry. So you got to be willing to have 299 people tell you no to get one yes. And that, you know what? That's fucking, it's... Damn. But when you get used to that, it makes shit seem so much less scary. Right. Like, asking people for anything. Like, when I didn't even start a podcast, I'm reaching out to people. Yo, I'm starting a podcast. You want to be a guest? It's like, what the fuck are you gonna say? No, okay. I'll message 300 other fucking people. If it takes me to message 300 people to get one guest on my podcast, I'll fucking do it.
Yeah. Nah, I believe it too. I believe it. Nah, that's a wild industry. 300 for one.
Yeah, I mean, and some people aren't even that good. Some people got to make 600 calls to get a sale. But it's just, something about it's weird how everything just happens and puts you in a place where, like, to me, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I couldn't have planned any of this shit out. Like,
shameless plug real quick. I got a song called Supposed to Be coming out next month.
Right.
So that's, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm just saying that.
And so that's just, it probably is about exactly what I'm saying though. Like, I fucking, like, I didn't know when I was growing up. I had no fucking idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I got sober, and then I was like, fuck, what am I going to do now?
Right.
And I got this job in a sales office just to like kill time while I was doing other shit. I didn't think that that's what I was going to do. And it just worked out that doing that job was exactly what I needed to do, because I learned a lot about myself, and I gained a lot more confidence through doing that. Yeah. And I learned a lot about business, and I learned a lot about I just learned a lot about people, and I became more driven, because I wasn't really like the driven person before that. I was basically, if I felt like if I did enough to get by, I'd be okay with it.
I can't even picture you being like that right now. But I didn't. Again, like, we didn't really hang out when we were younger like that. So it was like, I didn't see that.
We had classes together, and maybe ended up at the same parties a few times. But like,
your wife, you had like a white fitted or something.
Remember that? I had a lot of fitteds, but but that's what I was. It was I was a different person.
Nah, I could tell, bro. I see it in your eyes. Like, I see like your focus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And so for you, like with the so you're doing the content now. You've been doing the music for a long time. So, and you just said the next thing coming out is a single called "Where I'm Supposed to Be."
Yeah, supposed to be.
Or supposed to be.
Supposed to be. Yeah, mixed and mastered by Alec Martini. I think he might do it. He wanted to change the beat because he thought it sounded whack. I like the beat, but he thought it sounded a little whack. Like, not whack like on some, he's like a super musical guy. Yeah. So like, to him it's like, I don't know, bro. He's like a fucking genius when it comes to like the arithmetics and the mathematical part of music. You know what I mean? Like, he's like frequencies and this and that. I'm like, all right, bro, do your thing. You know what I mean? But it's called Supposed to Be, and he wants to change the beat up a little bit, but I like the way it sounds. So we're gonna see what that comes out to be.
So how has your music, if you had to say, in the years you've been writing and recording, how has it evolved, especially like in the last, like, let's say in the last 3 years?
In the last 3 years, a big evolution. I think I've found my comfort in front of a microphone, talking to a mic, listening to my voice, and just me being in that room and just trying different things, even if I sounded crazy, like doing different voices and pitches and different patterns. And I think it's evolved in the sense that when I used to write music, I used to start with lyrics first, but now when I write music, I start with melody, because melody is universal. Okay. Right? You could listen to a Bad Bunny track, you don't know what he's talking about. Yeah. But you hear the melody. Right. And that's what catches you. Right. So when I started writing from the melody perspective, it just gave my music new life. Like my melody, like I'm like, this is a melody right here. What emotion was I feeling? I was feeling like, sadness, pain. I don't even know sometimes what kind of emotion it is. And then all of a sudden, I just put lyrics into the melodies, and it kind of like writes itself. Like that's kind of how it is with the whole music thing. It kind of just writes itself. Like once you get into that groove, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, we're all like, vessels, and I think there's something much higher controlling the situation. Absolutely. We have some control, but,
At the end of the day, I was just talking to myself, actually. I was like making content.
That's how you know you on it.
Yeah, I was talking to myself because I was making content, and it was about how, like, we don't get to choose what lessons we learn in life. We only get to choose if we learn it the easy way or if we learn it the hard way. We only get to choose if we're going to listen to the messages that we get the first time. Facts. Or if we're going to do the same shit over and over again. It could be 20 years doing the same mistakes over and over again, and you're only going to learn the lesson when you're ready to learn it.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. So it's like, we have control, kind of, but what's going to happen is going to happen sooner or later. And a lot of people will say it's like, it's not on your time, it's on God's time. So like, you might want an outcome, you might want a specific outcome to happen. And, some people believe, like I've heard people say, like, if you ask God for something, he'll give it to you, but it's not going to be on your time, it's going to be on his time. You know what I'm saying?
Like when you're ready for it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because that's the one guy who was telling me, the way he put it, he was like, if you ask God for something, he's not going to say no, but he might say, are you sure? You know what I'm saying? And they also say, be careful what you ask for, because you might get exactly what you asked for. Then you might be asking God to take it away from you. So there's a lot of shit that plays into that. One of the questions I was going to ask you too, going back to like the music and that too, because when you started making music, you were living in Brooklyn. Thanks. And you moved out to Long Island. Yeah. First of all, what was that transition like for you?
Oh man, the white girls. Man, when that happened, bro, it was an interesting transition. I used to go to school in the East New York Family Academy. That was in East New York, off Linden Boulevard. If anybody's from Brooklyn, you probably know that place. So I used to go to school there. And the school, like, we used to have like little trailers. Like, it used to be like trailers, not like trailers with wheels, but it was trailers. And we had one building, but in the building, I think it was just, I was barely in that building, but I think that's where the principal's office is, this, that, and the third. Maybe some classes, I think they had they were teaching people how to cook and shit.
Like home ec shit.
Yeah. What is it?
Home ec.
Yeah, home ec?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's what it was.
You like bake cake and shit.
Yeah, bacon.
Like
yeah. So we was in Brooklyn baking shit, right? So downstairs they had that, and when you had that class, you would go there. But most of the classes, like math, science, English, everything was outside in a red trailer. It was a red trailer. Multiple red trailers, different teachers going into those trailers. They had a bathroom in there. And when we would go and play, you know, because over there, I know in Long Island, it's different when you have lunch out here. You don't really go outside.
Right.
Right? Was that the case? We didn't really go outside. We were in the lunchroom, right?
I think when you're in 12th grade, you're able to like go eat outside, or not even outside. It was like the rotunda, but you were still in the building. But that changed, bro. Like, so some schools you can go out. They have it's called either open campus or closed campus. I know Lindenhurst, they closed the campus. Some girl got murdered in like the 80s during like she was like out for lunch and she never came back. And then they made it a closed campus where you can't go out to lunch anymore. But a lot of schools do that because people just wouldn't come back.
Right.
But once they leave, they just not come back.
Yeah, they're like, fuck that.
You know? But yeah, basically back to your
yeah. So I didn't know that. So the trailers were like on the edges. So it's one square with a gate with a big ass like, so people don't climb out and leave fucking school. You know what I mean? Like a gate. So there's trailers like on the corners, and then in the middle is where we would play. That's what I'm saying. When we would go outside, we would still be. It's still part of the facility because we're gated, but at the same time, like we were able to play football, like street football. You know, fucking,
right?
You know, everybody was juking each other. Like everybody thought they was nice when they were playing football when they were young. At least I thought I was. So, the difference was, and you know, it was mostly Hispanic and black people, mostly black people, but Hispanic people too. And the teachers were the ones that were white. Right. Some of the teachers were white. Yeah. So when I came to Long Island, when I came to Lindenhurst, when I was like, I think I was like, at the time I was like, it was the end of 7th grade. I came to Lindenhurst, and I remember the first person that I saw. I know her name. I don't know if I should say her name, but she was sitting down crying. Like I went to like the I think it was like the principal's office or whatever, because I had to get some paperwork done. She was like crying because somebody like hit her on her stomach. I don't know why I remember that, but you know, this is back in like 7th grade. So I remember just going into this big ass building, you know, just seeing all these white kids, you know what I mean? And I was like, you know, it was interesting because at that point I didn't have any white friends when I lived in Brooklyn. All my friends were black. Hispanic was the minority, if anything. You know what I mean? And you know, if there was some white dude that you saw outside in the street, he was probably thugged out. Like he was like, you know, they respected him.
Or he was a crackhead or some shit.
or maybe a crackhead, right? So you know, I was just surprised just to see like, you know, a completely different atmosphere. Yeah. The schools were nicer. The lunch was. I never had to pay for lunch over there, but the lunch over there in Linden, I used to get the wrap with the spicy chicken and the
that
fries.
Shit was
Remember
fire,
that? That shit
bro.
was slap, bro.
I still think about that shit sometimes.
That was good stuff.
Yeah.
So you know,
I'll eat 2 of those, bro.
What, the wraps?
Yeah.
Oh, you was going there, yeah, because he was a big boy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was just completely different. But everybody embraced me. I can't. I never experienced. Maybe there was some knucklehead here and there that would, you know, everybody's low key. Not everybody's low key racist, but everybody's a little. Everybody has an opinion.
People are
on a different race.
Bro. That's
prejudice,
the thing.
Right? Yeah.
I would say prejudice. I see more than racist, like straight racist.
So what's the definition of prejudice? What you mean by that? Like,
prejudice, like you have a preconceived idea about people because of the way they look.
Yes.
You know, like everybody does it. Like you see a guy on the street who has like Oakley sunglasses and he's wearing like Under Armour. Like that guy's probably a fucking cop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like everybody does it. You see somebody and you think something.
For sure.
And you might treat them a certain way because of it. Like if you don't like cops, you see that guy and you're like, fuck this guy.
Right.
You might like shove him. Like, you know, you might shoulder check him when you walk by. But if you don't mind cops, you just see him and just go, he might be a cop, and you just keep walking. But the same shit with, like, I feel like people think certain ways. Like, if they see a young kid who's dressed with a backwards fitted on.
Do-rag, all that.
They walk. Let's say you walk into a bodega. He's like, fuck, one of these kids might try to steal shit, and they watch him. Like, to me, like that's, like, the prejudice part. Where, like, the racist part, I feel like it's just, everybody who you see who's a different color, you're like, fuck them because they're black.
Yeah, that's weird.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
like,
probably not racism. Yeah, it's more prejudice.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people are prejudiced where they're not used to seeing black people.
Yeah.
maybe if they grew up in a real white neighborhood and they're like, they might be scared because they don't know.
Facts.
But
that's a fact.
It's not,
it's also society too, though.
Right. But if that same person saw a black guy wearing a suit pull up and he's, maybe he gets out of a BMW, he's carrying a briefcase, they're not going to feel any type of way because they're like, he's just a regular dude.
Businessman.
But if they're dressed like they're in the street, they're going to be more like...
the drug dealer.
Threatened. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like some people have that... It's more of a fear-based thing than I hate people because they are that way, I
agree. And everyone is prejudiced. Because even me, with my own people, with anybody, there's no exclusion to this. Like, you look at people and you think certain things of them, and that's something I've had to learn. Like, you got to look at people for who they are. Right. Like, you can't, you miss out on so many opportunities. Like, just, being prejudiced. Yeah. Being prejudiced. You know what I mean? You miss out on so many opportunities. Like, you might meet this motherfucker look like he probably got like 5 bodies under him, but he's probably the nicest guy that you'll ever meet.
Absolutely. And it's hard because, like, I don't think people can necessarily control like the first thought that they have, but they can control the actions that they take. So it's kind of like if you right away, like let's say you're working in a let's say you're a cop. Let's just use that as an example. Yeah. You go to a drug bust and there's $100,000 in cash. And your first thought might be, fuck, like if I can get away with this cash, like this could change my life. But then you think about it and you either do the right thing and you fucking turn it in and submit the evidence, or you could do the wrong thing and maybe peel off 10 grand. So there's that first thought, the initial thought, then there's the action that follows it. Are you going to do the right thing or are you going to do the wrong thing? Mm-hmm. And it's like the same shit. Like a lot of people are touchy about talking about like race and prejudice and racism and shit like that. But if people don't talk about it, then there can never be any growth from it. You know what I mean? 100%. So I think about this shit all the time, but I don't get into arguments on like Twitter and Facebook about it because it's so unproductive. It's just people going back and forth arguing with each other. But if you could have a conversation with people in your everyday life about it and just like kind of share perspective, because as soon as I explain that prejudice thing, you're like, oh yeah, I do that with this, I do that with that. But it's like, it's more about like thinking about where that comes from. It's more of a lack of understanding,
Yeah, lack of understanding. Fear.
Yeah,
you noted, like you said, and also because like, through media and through like, just I don't know, bro, what it is. It must be like some type of conditioning. You know what I mean? Like we just judge people based off of appearance.
Yeah.
And we forget to see who they are because of it.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So you moved to Long Island. You saw a lot of different changes. And,
yeah.
Did that do anything to your music, or do you think just growing up in general changed the music more?
I think when it in terms of the whole music thing, I think growing up, finding myself being comfortable with being uncomfortable really changed the music. Being consistent. Being consistent was one of the reasons why I actually had the courage to put out music, is because I got consistent and I got good enough to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm good enough to give this a shot. You know what I mean? And also I stopped caring what people think as much. But yeah, the experience from Long Island, to Brooklyn, how did that change my music? I don't know, bro. I guess I stopped talking about like being a thug, I guess. Like a fake gangster, I was never really gangster, but I used to, how it used to be back in the day. Everybody who used to rap used to be a gangster.
Yeah, everybody. But that was the music we heard, and the people that influenced us. It was like that's what you talked about, that's just what people heard, and people emulated the artists that they like to listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's like Drake is the biggest rapper, so people are emulating different shit.
That's true. That's true. Maybe now that's why more people are okay with number one being themselves, right? But also number two, speaking about, being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Being a little vulnerable. I think Drake, listen, I love Drake, bro. Like, I'm a Drake fan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not fucking nuts about him. Like, I don't got a mural in my house with Drake.
You don't have a fucking shrine.
Nah, I don't have a shrine of Drake. But he's cool. Like, I fuck with his music.
What do you think of the album that just came out?
What do I think about it?
Yeah.
Did you listen to it?
I listened to it one time through, so I can't give like a real good opinion because it's like
that's what I usually say when I don't want to say an album sucks.
Nah,
no, I'm fucking with you.
It's kind of true. Like, I don't want to say it sucks.
No, this is true.
Because I could listen to it again. Like, and first of all, even if Drake puts out a shitty album,
right,
he's always gonna have 2 or 3 hits on it,
right?
No matter what. Like the track with Jay, I can't. That's the thing. I can't even tell you the names of the tracks. I only listened to it once. But like the one with J. Cole, I liked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the one that I hear everybody saying that they like.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't really hear people. And like 8 a.m. in Charlotte.
That beat is masterful. The 8 a.m. in Charlotte.
And there's another one, something about Virginia that people told.
Virginia Beach?
Yeah, Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
Like those are the only 3 tracks that I really hear see people really posting and talking about. But when I listen to it, it's just, it's I don't know. I definitely didn't think it was his best work. If you want me to tell you Drake's best work, I would say If You're Reading This, It's Too Late is probably the best album he's ever put out.
That wasn't the same album. For me, it has to be Nothing Was the Same.
That's a great album too.
I love that's my album. That's to me
and I even like the project he did with Future. And I don't even fuck with, but I do fuck with Future though. It's a thing. Like, I don't
not like that though.
But I don't listen to anything that's just Future. But like Future and Juice WRLD, Future and Drake.
Yeah. Him as a collab he kills it. Yeah,
all his collabs I fucking fuck with. But like, but the thing with Drake is, I don't know. Like, I feel like one thing is that he evolves every time he makes an album. He does something different. He always evolves in some way.
Right.
And if he didn't do that, then people would also complain and be like, "Oh, he's just doing the same shit over and over again." So he's in a position where he's in a no-win position. He has to be different.
Yeah.
But then people complain that it's different too.
That is different. And you know what? Drake is in, like you said, he's in a wild position. Like, if you've been dominating at music, let's talk about music. You've been dominating that music for 15 years.
Yeah.
It's gonna be difficult for you to like constantly be reinventing yourself and making something that everyone is gonna like. Like, you know what I mean? What I personally think about the album, I don't think it was his best work. I think he had a couple of songs that I liked, but I saw this from the perspective of business. Mm-hmm. Drake did this because, in my humble opinion, not to say the music was bad. It wasn't bad music. It just wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. It wasn't for me. You know what I mean? And what I think he tried to do here is appeal to a younger crowd.
Right.
To a younger crowd, to the TikTok era of consumers. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and by doing that, now, so he had all these collabs on the album, and Joe Budden had some shit to say about it. I'll say something about Joe Budden too after, but so he had all these collabs with these younger artists that are kind of having their time right now.
Right, like 21 and
and which is smart because now all their fans are gonna listen to Drake. Even if they don't listen to the whole album, they're gonna hear Drake.
Right.
And so he gives himself that relevance with all these other artists' fans.
He's a smart dude. Mm-hmm.
So I was just telling somebody, I was like, yo, Drake could put out 5 shitty albums in the next 5 years. Every album could be trash, but there will still be a couple of hits on each one.
For sure.
And they're not going to stop him from making albums. He's too big to be stopped. Yeah. And people are still going to listen. He's got a loyal fan base that, like, even right now, bro, people are getting combative if you say you don't like this album. I see people getting real fucking angry, upset, about if you say you don't like this album. They're like, oh, but Drake is on another level. And it's like, I didn't even say I didn't like the album. I was just saying it's not his best. Oh, but you can't compare it to that because it's a completely different type of album. All right, but it's still, to me.
You have your own opinion.
And I'm not even saying I don't like it yet. I don't really know.
Right.
But it's definitely not my favorite. That's for sure.
Right.
But yo, Joe, he's going at Joe Budden now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because, bro, his feelings are hurt, bro.
I thought that's exactly what I told my boy. I'm like, yo, for Drake to respond the way he responded is because Joe Budden got under his skin, bro.
Yeah.
You know, he got under his skin.
And I don't know if you remember this, but I used to go to all the Joe Budden shows, and I used to go
I
to...
didn't know that.
Yeah.
You was a Joe Budden fan?
Big time, yeah.
Yeah?
Bro, we almost drove to Jersey because he was having like this kickball game at this park near his house, and he announced it on Ustream, and my boy, I forget who was going, and I think his car like died or some shit, so we didn't go. Right. But he used to just invite fans to go play kickball and shit.
Yeah.
And we went to a couple meet and greets. We saw
so y'all would play kickball with Joe Budden?
We would have. We didn't make it.
Oh, y'all ain't make it because of the car.
Yeah, we didn't make it. But
y'all brought y'all kickball sneakers?
Yeah. But bro, Joe Budden asked me for directions one time, and I was in Phoenix, and me and my cousin were driving, and all of a sudden it was like a Ferrari or a Lambo or some shit pulled up next to my cousin's truck. This is in 2009. And I couldn't see because he was on the driver's side, and
he was getting money back then.
Yeah, bro.
Pump It Up came out when?
But no, this was during Slaughterhouse. This is when Slaughterhouse was big. So
with Joel Ortiz,
bro. Yeah. So watch this. So he pulls up, and my cousin's like, "Yo, this is some rappers over here asking for directions." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I don't." He's like, "Bro, I could just tell because he didn't know who." I'm like, "Who?" He's like, "I don't know." So then they pulled around the passenger side and they asked me they're like, "You know where the Marquee Theater is?" I look out, bro. It's Joe Budden and Joel Ortiz. And I was like, it's that way.
That's crazy.
So they fucking got off the exit, turn around. Yeah. And I start Googling. I'm like, Slaughterhouse, Marquee Theater. And they were like performing there.
That day.
Bro, it was like the show started at 8 and it was like 8:30. And they're like driving around like asking for directions and
That's
shit.
crazy. They didn't even know they was going.
Yeah. But that whole story I told you to tell you that back then, around the time that Budden was doing this Joe Budden TV on YouTube, Drake was in Times Square. I think it was in Times Square, and he saw Joe Budden, and he was like praising him, bro. He was like talking to the camera. He's like, "Yo, this is one of the best to ever do it." And
Drake was saying that about Budden.
Yeah, and Budden's like, "Oh, you don't got to say all that," and he's like, "Nah, I wouldn't say that shit in vain." He's like, "This is, you inspire." Like he said all this shit. Yeah. I'm gonna see if I could still find it on YouTube and put it in the description. But he literally was like saying all this shit, and that's why I feel like he's so hurt right now, because it was somebody who he looked up to that's like being critical of his music. Yeah,
it's obvious that he has some ties to Joe Budden. Yeah, in some way, shape, or form, like Joe Budden definitely lives in a part of Drake's brain.
Yeah, bro. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like whenever somebody says "I don't care," it means they do care. And it's like when I've had people talk to me about like say an ex-girlfriend, and they're like, blah, 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 going on and on and on. And they're like, "But I don't care though." And I'm like, "Oh, you fucking care, because we wouldn't be having this conversation if you didn't care."
We were just talking for like an hour, bro. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, of course you care. And it's like, that's the shit with Drake. Bro, he put a fucking like 3 paragraphs on a caption on Instagram.
I saw that, yeah.
I'm like, I can't believe he's putting this much energy into Joe Budden right now.
Yeah, and you know what? And my boy, he don't like Joe Budden because Joe Budden is like, he's like super loud and like obnoxious, and then he takes it low. Like, he's a great speaker. Yeah. But the thing, like I was telling my boy, I'm like, listen, let me say something. We would have not been talking about Drake's album this much if it wasn't for Joe Budden saying what he said.
That's facts.
At least in the angle that it's being spoken about. Like he left it open for people to criticize the album. Right. And now that's a different topic of conversation that, Joe Budden opened up. Like it went viral. That whole moment went viral. It actually gave Drake's album, more I don't know what's the word for it.
It put it in the spotlight.
Because
people hear something and they go, now they want to hear what he's talking about.
Exactly. So that's what that did for that situation. You know what I mean? But I hope one day they could patch it up, man.
I hope so too, because you know what, like, Budden is just like a regular dude. You know, he had a career, and then he
made great music too. Mood music.
He did, bro. Mood music is the shit. Yeah. Like, I fucking like all the mood musics are good, bro. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, I just, at the end of the day, though, it's like he's not saying anything that's like I don't understand how an artist could be mad. Like, if they put something out, and then it's somebody's job, like, this is what they do, is they critique albums. Yeah. And they're going to give an honest response to it. Yeah. And bro, he's given a lot of praise to Drake when he did shit that he liked, too.
That's true, but I'm going to tell you something, though, right? Right. When he did that, he also mentioned the whole thing about the stop messing with 25-year-olds. Yeah. Like, what was that about? You know what I'm saying? Like, what did that have to do with the album, bro? You dig what I'm saying? Like, why are you saying that? Like, but
part of what he does, I think he just says shit to be funny or to be shocking or something. Right, I don't know, bro.
Like shock value, maybe get a response from him, from Drake or whatever.
Bro, I think one of the best Budden podcasts that I don't even listen to it consistently, but I listened to it when Drake was going back and forth with who the fuck? Not Meek
Pusha?
With Pusha, yeah. And he made that Duppy freestyle.
That shit was fun. That shit was hard.
And yo, Budden's reaction to that was great. I mean, he just fucking you'll have to watch it. I'm not gonna try to
to the Duppy freestyle?
Yeah, his reaction to the Duppy freestyle was really good.
He was going crazy?
Yeah, I mean, bro, they picked it apart like line by line, bro. But
I need to watch that. I love when Joe Budden does that, when he picks things apart, because he's very he's
analytical.
Yeah, he's
bro.
Analytical. Yeah, he's analytical. Yeah,
and he knows music. That's the thing, bro. Like, you could say what you want about his music and his success or whatever, but he does know music.
Yeah, he do.
But he's an opinionated guy, bro. Like, that's the thing. He's not gonna fucking sugarcoat what he thinks about something, you know?
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. He did that breakdown with 4 p.m. in Calabasas, right? Which is one of my favorite Drake records. Yeah. But he broke it down, and I was just like, you know, I was like, I'm sounding like a crazy Drake fan right now. But
bro, you got a Drake tattoo under that?
I might have it right here. Got the owl right here. Nah, let me stop. Nah.
Yo, so for people that want to hear your music, where do they go?
So on Spotify, you can check me out as MEM-G, Mem-G. And if you want, you know, I'm on TikTok at I am official. I am Mem-G.
Oh shit! Oh shit! I might just have to put it in the description just to be sure.
Yeah. I am Mem official.
I am Mem official.
I am Mem official. That's my That's my IG, TikTok, and also YouTube. I don't even know if YouTube let me have like a name yet. I think you have to have like over a certain amount of subscribers, or maybe they do it now too. But if you do, check it as I am Mem official. That's what it is. I am Mem official.
Yeah. I'll put all the links in the description too. And other than the single you said, is there anything else you want to promote?
Man, what do I want to promote? I want to promote positivity. I want to promote people, you know, doing what they want to do. Like my man Rich over here, like what I'm doing. You know, everything seems hard. Everything seems impossible, you know, and just know you have the power to do whatever the hell it is you want to do. And I definitely want to come back here and chop it with you again, my bro.
Absolutely, bro. I'm looking forward to that. And for everybody watching and seeing Mem-G for the first time, go follow him on Instagram, TikTok, check out his music. And in the comments, I want to know who's my next guest going to be. If you guys want to put suggestions out there, leave a comment and let me know. Make sure you subscribe and you don't miss any of the future episodes. We have a couple of great guests coming up already that are scheduled to appear. So, yeah, definitely make sure you subscribe, and we appreciate you guys watching.